couple weeks ago. But this idea that, music, everything is just really highly sexualized. It has an impact. If you haven't read the 2007 APA Task Force on the Sexualization of Girls, it is a great read and it's such an important document. It got over 1 million hits on APA's site. They couldn't believe it. They've never seen anything like it. People are really concerned about this. And girls are concerned because the impact on, eating disorders and self-esteem and depressive symptoms, there's studies showing this. There's some new studies out since 2007 showing that girls who consume a lot of this stuff actually have lower grades in every subject. So they're just spending lots of time on this and lots of money on it as well. And it has an impact in a broader sense. And it also has an impact societally. So we know that kids who are consuming a lot of this stuff are more likely to accept sexual harassment and sexual stereotypes. The exposure to sexualized rap videos. And I don't really actually have a problem with just focusing on rap because this stuff is everywhere, particularly in country music. And, so I think that the APA report does a little disservice there because there's some really great women rappers and some great male rappers out there. But this study is showing that if they're looking at sexualized rap videos, it has a real negative impact on African American women in particular. And look, it can even impact job applications. So this idea really, really does kind of filter down into the way that we treat one another and the way we experience one another. So if we're thinking that empowerment today and girl power is, about an individual empowerment, then, Jessica Taft, and I highly recommend this book, suggests that we need to move beyond empowerment because it's all too often focused on incorporating girls into this social order, this crazy, narrow construction of femininity, rather than empowering them to make meaningful changes to it. So we have to think differently about our work with girls. And we have to shift to talking about activism. Her book is Rebel Girls. She interviews activists from 5 countries, young women activists, and talks about what they need and what they're doing and how they engage in their work. It's an incredibly inspiring read. But there's lots of things for girls to be active about, right? And to be activists around. The sexualization and sexism, the sexual harassment, violence, trafficking. There's a ton of stuff for them to be, justifiably angry about and to be active. And we're seeing, of course, you get the individual activism popping up everywhere, right? As particularly young women are starting to sort of name and see this stuff, you'll see this little kind of underground activism. But the kind of work that I want to talk about is that this is the kind of work that brings girls together to really respond to this stuff. And Bernice Johnson Reagan, this is work I live by. I love her work. Coalition is work that's difficult, exhausting, but necessary for all of us to feel that this is our world. This is in her paper called Coalition Politics. I highly recommend it. She really gives us a roadmap for thinking about coalition. But it really demands that we bring girls together. And fighting like a girl then becomes around, where do we take our anger and how do we manifest this fight? And there are lots of places that is emerging. It's emerging in social networking like never before. It's an amazing moment for young women. And, social networking platforms like, Tumblr and, Twitter and Facebook, and they're out there doing amazing things. I'm going to talk about some of that. But girl-cots instead of boycotts, but girl-cotting products, and really involved in school and community and coalition building. These are things that are starting to happen, and they're starting to come together in really exciting ways. And what Jessica Taft suggests is that girls do need adults in their lives, but they don't need us controlling what they're doing. They need us there to help provide a space for their work. They need us there for financial support, and we should be giving them money for this work. And they need us there for more positive feedback and less judgment. This is a time when a range of things that are happening that actually trigger women in interesting ways because they're out there talking about sexuality and in very direct ways and really pushing back in direct ways. But it's about listening and scaffolding their work. So I'm going to talk about some ways to do that. One of the things that we do at Hardy Girls is we talk about and we educate about the culture of power and structural sexism for girls in middle school and high school. And they totally can get this. And doing this work means bringing girls together, and we have a curriculum and we have ways of sort of initiating these conversations. But it's so important that we educate them beyond the individual to the societal issues and to talk with them about the culture of power. It means helping them and encouraging them to ask questions. For example, why in real life is her skin so dark, and why is her skin so light on the magazine? So these kinds of questions need to be asked, and inviting girls to talk about race, to talk about the intersection of race and gender, and to ask the question, why is her full body not shown here? But these kinds of things begin, this is where we can use pop culture in a really positive way to really engage girls in conversation and critical thinking about this stuff. And then to pose problems, it's a very Freirean approach, not giving answers, but posing problem and presenting contradictions, and giving girls opportunities to really work this stuff out as a group and to create alternative media, which is so important. Again, if men are producing most of the media, we need to be encouraging girls to be more than consumers, but to be producers of media. I want to, I'm not going to show this because I want to get to some of the other, go down. So here's some examples of girls' response to some of the sexualized stuff out there, okay? So, in response to the best bottom ad, we had girls posing. These are our girls' advisory members. This is my daughter, right? Posing with visual responses to this ad and posting them. Okay, so that's just a simple kind of response, but it's producing a kind of media. We had them blogging about it. So up in the left here are your left is their blog, and then domestic violence groups and from all around the country and women's groups read their blog and reposted and blogged about the contests themselves. And talk about empowering this group of girls. I mean, it was an incredible moment for them, where they felt like what they said really got heard. And this is how the power of the internet, I think, obviously for girls. Our girl piece of Hardy Girls is online now, called Powered by Girl. It was developed by our Girls Advisory Board. There's a little video on the site that shows our group talking about it. We have a website with a blog, and worked really hard because the girls wanted this to do a recaptioning application. We have a Facebook fan page now with about 1,400 girls and young women on it. And I'll talk about Spark in a minute. But this is another, girls are really asking for the kind of scaffolding that they need in order to create sort of activist and creative solutions to the sexualized stuff that they're seeing. So I'm going to show you some examples of what we're doing at Powered by Girl. This is from the Facebook page. You might not be able to read it, but it says, #1 reason a girl needs a waist bigger than her head circumference. And where in the corner the doll has broken off at the waist and fallen over. But, we post this at Powered by Girl. Like, we have our Girls Advisory Board who are, administrators of this page. And, it gets over 1,800 impressions. I mean, that's the number of people who have seen this. Over 40 people have liked it and commented on it. So, this is, again, a way for, that we're really trying to work with girls to be where they are and really help them find creative ways to respond. This is the web page, just for you to see the blog, and this is our app for 17 Magazine, where the girls have remade 17 Magazine from their own image and ask questions. And this is the allergic to algebra tea that was in Forever 21 that they blogged about and protested. One of the things that's so important for young women and girls is sort of the notion of culture jamming. which is essentially, as